Welcome to the Cynical Marketers podcast, where the greatest minds in marketing, we think, discuss marketing for an audience of several. And now, your hosts, Mike and Nada. All right, welcome everybody. Episode 4. We are 20% of the way.
We're getting there, Mike.
The magic 20. We are getting there. Thank you for tuning back in again this week. If you're one of the several, we know we have several fans out there, especially if you weren't mad after listening to last week's episode.
Hopefully not. We'll see how that goes.
I don't know. I remember after we recorded, I'm like, we'll see. So
look, and if we make you mad or make you think, leave us comments. We're all here for the, we're not doing it for rage bait. We're doing it.
I've been called stupid before.
Yep.
Not immune to it. So, all right. Episode 4 here. What we're going to talk about this week. Digital marketing, that term. What is it? And why is it so confusing? Businesses just are so confused out there, I think, over who does what in marketing. What should we hire? You look at job descriptions of we want to hire marketers. It's kind of everything. It's like, somebody wrote a job description and they think think of all the marketing words we know and just put it in there, So what is digital marketing?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, this kind of started because I brought up that TikTok video to you where a girl was talking about, if you want to be a digital marketer like me, here's a course I'm selling and so on. And I said to you that this doesn't feel like she's a digital marketer. She's certainly, an entrepreneur of some kind, a salesperson selling a course, using TikTok as a digital tool. Yes. But does that make her a digital marketer? Right. And, I come from, we've been doing this for a long time, Mike, right? I started in marketing back in 2001 after graduating with my undergrad in e-commerce, what was e-business at the time. So that's how long ago that was. And we very much, when I think of a digital marketer, I think, digital advertising. So what does that mean? That to me is like paid ads, paid search, paid social, really advertising on any digital platform. But I think that term has sort of warped into something that has now become like an all-encompassing, do all the things in marketing, and it's used sort of interchangeably where people who are really social influencers that are selling a product.
We see it a lot with course sellers and stuff. Mm-hmm. On the terminology for me, because I fell into marketing. I am not, I was not. I was a restaurant general manager forever. My first thing, I think it was I had a GeoCities. It was a blog, you would call it today, but I can't remember the exact term on what GeoCities used to call them. It was a community page or something, but way back, GeoCities days, when I started doing that stuff, but that wasn't my job. I was a restaurant GM, and then I fell into human resources in a job that led me into marketing. And then, so I've come about it in a different way. And I had an NFL executive tell me once that, I should scrub my LinkedIn of my past experience because I look like a joke. And what I'm doing when I was working with the NFL and had built a company to $80 million. And, so I have always have had a chip on my shoulder in the marketing world about marketing gatekeepers, because I think that this industry is one of the most heavily gate-kept industries. You can't market this because you don't know this product. You're not this type of a job, so you can't do this. There are so many things that people have, and you're like, I don't know. I can market anything. I always think, what do you need done? We'll figure it out. Marketing is not rocket science by any means. It does take skill, but it takes some experience.
I think where it gets really confusing for businesses, though, and folks that are trying to hire, is this definition of a digital marketer has become like an all-encompassing. Yeah. I've been working, as an email marketing manager since 2001, where email was like all HTML. It required a completely different skill set, right? But I was always an email marketing manager because I managed email. Now I am a retention marketing manager because there's now other scopes within, there's these buzz terms, right? Like digital marketing used to be now is performance marketing. Now I'm a retention manager, not an email marketing manager, because SMS got added into the fold of our job responsibilities. I think it's really interesting though, because there isn't one clear definition. And we've certainly seen folks who define themselves as digital marketers that like we both kind of look and go, ooh, what skill set makes you think that you should have that title, right? We did some digging on this and, even asked a little bit on Reddit as to what the definition of that is. And somebody said, broad term, anyone who markets services or products on digital channels, right? So markets or sells, like now we're using marketing and sales kind of interchangeably.
And how are you marketing them? Right? Is that social media or are you doing
podcast, virtual assistants like Alexa, website, SMS, app store, social network, email, etc.? That is like all encompassing marketing tactics now fall into digital marketing. We looked at some job descriptions of digital marketers, right? Where folks are like, oh, we need, these essential skills, video marketing, SEO, content marketing, data and analytics, design planning, social media, email marketing. Those are all very different skill sets, right?
There's folks I follow on TikTok. There's a couple of people, and I'm not naming anyone. I'm not trying to, especially if they don't want to be associated with me after last week, but,
fair.
But I see a lot of marketing folks talk about this, how businesses don't get it, that each one of those things, Nada, that you just listed is within itself its own job skill set. And it should be an individual doing that. Right. I'm like, yeah, look, as a CMO, I would love it. I would love it if I could get the budget to have an individual person who was our SEO expert, a web person, paid ads, and even separating them among the paid platforms, because just because you do paid ads doesn't mean you're good at Google and Meta, or you get TikTok or any of the places now, right? Or you're LinkedIn.
Right.
It would be awesome. But the reality that we face in marketing now is businesses don't like us. CFOs, CEOs don't want us. They don't want to hire us. They want as few of us as they can. They'll hire 78 HR people. Each task in HR, there will be a person for. If you ever walk by an HR office in a business, you're like, who are you? Oh, I do benefits. Oh, I do payroll. Oh, I do onboarding. I'm the recruiter. And then there's the one guy down in marketing. He does everything and he sucks. The leads suck.
Yeah.
It's so hard to get budget. And the one term you mentioned is why I think the performance marketing, people got so drunk in the last 15 years now on attribution and digital stuff, where now if a CFO, if you can't go to a CFO and say, if you spend this dollar doing this activity, it will result in this X amount of an ROI, they're not going to do it. They won't do it because they're going to lag. CEOs, CFOs, those guys lag 5 years behind whatever's happening in marketing. And they still they still think we can have perfect attribution, and they chase it and pay huge amounts of money to software out there to get perfect attribution. When I don't know why.
I feel like that's a whole episode all on its own, Mike.
I know.
But I think it's interesting because my whole thing is, and it's not that I particularly take offense to it, but when I see folks that are really just trying to sell a product or sell a course, that one bugs me even more, and call themselves digital marketers just because they exist on digital platforms, right? Yeah. Like on TikTok specifically, we see this on TikTok everywhere. It's like, no, you're not a digital marketer. You exist on this platform as an influencer, but that's sort of become like a dirty word, right? Nobody really wants to use it anymore. We went from having, like brand ambassadors to influencers, and now all the influencers are like affiliate marketers, right?
Yeah, they're mostly affiliate now, right? Back in the day, we used to have, you had a paid endorsement by somebody, and then they became brand ambassadors. And that was a
Right.
very fancy term and, you know,
Right.
really showed a connection and affinity. And then that became a bad thing. And now they're influencers.
Well, they became influencers, and then influencer sort of became a dirty word,
Yeah.
right? I feel like that's sort of muddied up over the last couple of years, with so many people selling things on TikTok, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then also not disclosing that they are paid by the
Oh,
company that they're selling for. But that's a whole. I don't even want. I feel like that's a trigger word for you, so I don't even want to start that conversation. But
me and the FTC on this one. I've been so angry about this, but you know, I
I
think
know.
the muddling of all these terms and these jobs and these functions, it's caused issues out here in the world on the expectations for the client side,
Right.
um, because they're not sure what they need or want, and then who do I work with? Because there's now so many. Anyone can start an agency now and say
Mhm.
we are a marketing agency, you know, of any type, and businesses just, you know, you hear it all the time, and we were client side too. We've been client side. You know, you get
Right.
burned by
Right.
agencies, and it's because like, oh, they oversold and underdelivered, and they
Yeah.
weren't quite what they said they were. Because on the agency side, we know too, they may be skilled in one particular thing, right? The old T-shaped marketer thing, and they're
Right.
going to hope to figure it out the rest. And then they
Right.
might find out, and with a client too, is like, I didn't figure it out quickly enough. And now they're mad. You know, I am a
And I think
great designer, but I don't actually know Facebook ads. I was hoping I could watch a YouTube video and get
right.
close enough, but
And I think that's the thing though too, Mike, that gets me right about digital marketing is like I don't I've been living in that space for a very long time, but I've never seen myself as a digital marketer. Again, right? Like even though you could argue, email, SMS, loyalty, all kind of fall within that broad spectrum of digital marketing, but I feel like everything done is now because everything exists on digital platforms, right? So is a business, I think this is where it gets really confusing because on the industry side of marketing, I think people are claiming to have skills they don't have, like you said,
yeah,
and then they're like, "Oh, I'll figure it out. I'll watch a YouTube video. I'll take an online. I'll buy somebody's course and I'll follow the steps and figure it out." Right? Um, and then the businesses on the business side, and we hear this from clients all the time, they get burned because somebody is selling them, oh, I can do this, all this service for you,
yeah,
right? Like I can do all these things for you because I'm a digital marketer. Look at what all the things that I'm doing, but they don't know how to, they may, like you said, do one thing really well and then try to figure the rest out. And in the meantime, the client is like spinning their wheels, like, okay, this isn't working. And so what we
yeah,
hear a lot of the times is like, oh, I don't want, you know, like I don't want to work with an agency, right? I've been burned by an agency. I've hired an SEO expert and they worked for me for 4 months and didn't do anything for
and
me.
I had a
Um,
client call
you
or
know,
a potential client call a couple of weeks ago, and he got on with me, and the first words out of his mouth, just so you know, I hate agencies. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
great.
like great.
This
I'm off to an awesome start. Right.
this is going to go good. you know, I think
And
there's two things. So I had like, I had a post go viral on LinkedIn right at the end of the year, and I don't care about viral, right? But it was funny. I wrote this little post about marketing is the only job, you know, everyone thinks they can do. And imagine
oh
if you
yes.
treated your lawyer the way, you know, and just say, oh, my nephew, he likes to argue, he can do it. Plus there's Chat GPT. We're going to use
Right.
him to make our contracts, right?
Right.
And that went viral and crazy. But somebody had a
Right.
good comment in there about it, about marketing versus accounting or legal, even HR. Um,
Right.
and like you said, there's people who claim to have the skills. And this person who had that comment said, in the marketing world, we don't have licensing or certifications or anything that actually proves or validates anyone's skill sets. Where you have a CPA as an accountant who's earned their CPA, the HR world has SHRM certifications, right? From that they can get. You know,
Right.
lawyers obviously have their law degree and their law license. We don't
Right.
really have that in marketing. We used to. There used to be certifications and things that you could go get from Google, Facebook, whatever. And they
Nobody
did
cares about
matter,
that anymore.
you know, 15 years ago. it would matter. You needed to have those things on your resume. Now nobody cares. Nobody checks.
Nobody cares now. That's not a thing anymore. Nobody cares.
So there's no
and
validation of any of these things.
Right.
And then part 2 of the problem is, if you're an agency and you have a chance to even talk to a client, you have to. Clients don't want to hear from anyone that marketing is hard and it takes time and you're going to have to invest in it. Clients don't want to hear that. No business wants to hear that. They're going to go and talk to 3 agencies, and whichever one gives them the highest X return in the shortest amount of time is who they're going to go with.
Right.
You know, clients want the dream too. So agencies sell the dream and hope. Right. And if we tell them we're going to 10X you in 90 days, hopefully we 5X you.
Right.
You know, we're hoping you've done few enough things that there's some immediate levers we can come in and pull for you that show some immediate lift.
Right.
Now we're okay for a bit.
But then what happens, and what's been our experience, is that tapers off after time. Right. And so then they get into month 3, month 4 with an agency, and they realize that, like, okay, there is no more low hanging fruit that we can manipulate these metrics on. And so that's when the real work has to start. And that's where a lot of the times these folks, really, the business owners, I should say, really then hit the wall and realize, like, oh, okay, marketing isn't the end all be all quick overnight success, right? It is painful. It takes time. It is a learning, for sure. And that's not sexy. Nobody wants to hear that. Right. So, but they realize that 4 or 5 months in, they do that a couple of times with different agencies. And then what we hear is, I hate, like you heard, right? I hate marketing agencies. Great. So happy to be here.
I know. And the thing is too, for businesses that, look, you can have perfect marketing and you still might fail.
Right.
Lots of businesses, go out of business. You didn't have product market fit. People didn't want what you had to sell. They see it and they just didn't like it. They don't like your price. There's a lot of things that can happen even with good marketing.
Right.
And you see this, like, go look at Shark Tank and look at all those businesses. Go and Google, businesses who have actually worked with one of the sharks and made a deal. How many of them are still around today? Who was actually successful? Can you name any? We have worked with at least one. We worked with one who was on Shark Tank.
Yeah. We worked with a couple of them, actually.
Yeah, a couple of Shark Tank businesses, but that doesn't mean you're going to be around forever. And past success doesn't mean future success either. So you see these fancy agencies with their companies on the websites. We did Nike and, all these things. I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't mean you can come make it work for me.
Right.
It worked at this time in this place with that message, that product, that audience for this thing. Now you are going to be completely unique and different, even if, and with most businesses, they didn't invent something new. So you're selling something that there are lots of competitors for.
Right.
Why you? So what are you going to do? And then they're like, well, I hired an agency. I should be a millionaire now. Like, yeah, you hired an agency, but you exist in a space like we're in the Chicago area.
Right.
So whatever your business is, if you're a service business, there's a lot of whatever you do. Name it in a business, right? Now they probably spend more money than you. They invested more. They've been doing SEO for longer. They've had their website for longer. Their domain authority's higher. They pay for ads on all the platforms. They spend a lot. Just because you hire an agency and you just start this, it's going to be hard to catch those people. You probably can, but I bet you won't want to make the investment in time or money to do it.
Right.
And agencies are guilty of causing the belief that we can turn you around in 90 days.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that's one of those, just a over, to use the term that you love so much, it's the overselling of services, right? Like, I think this is why this whole discussion around what is a digital marketer is really interesting, because I think for us as professionals in marketing, it goes to your notion of like gatekeeping and like, why not? Why can't somebody who's selling a course on TikTok call themselves a digital marketer, right? Is that misrepresenting themselves? I mean, they are doing some of the digital marketing tactics to sell these courses. So some of that is valid. And so I think it becomes less about what we call ourselves amongst ourselves, right? But it becomes more of an issue for a business to try to understand what type of services can you actually provide for them. And when they're looking to hire a digital marketer, what are they actually expecting? I think that's the thing that like I want to caution small businesses on is when you were saying like, oh, I need a digital marketer for my business. What is it that you actually expect
So
them to
exactly
do?
what do you need?
Like,
Right.
know exactly what you need, because something that, you know, just because I can go viral on TikTok and sell a course doesn't mean that I can actually do anything for your
Right.
business. We know this because I know specifically, Mike, you have had an experience of working with somebody who's been very successful on TikTok, was absolutely amazing, had an audience of millions, was making money there, right? Super successful, trying to
Yeah.
implement those same strategies for a business. I know you're laughing for those of you that are listening.
That cost me that client, that hiring mistake. I made a hiring mistake and it cost me that client because I'm like, no, this should be good.
Yeah. And it's like, because this person was not able to replicate that success, right? So I think really
because they got into it, they were in a niche and they didn't understand then, right? That's the thing about the marketing and the professional side of this. And for me, like at the CMO level too, it's the analytics and understanding and then being able to take action on the analytics. But where this person that I hired, 14 million followers
right
on social media and huge, but didn't understand how they got there. Didn't understand why they had those followers. Didn't really understand, just was in a niche and then just made that content. I thought they went to school for this. They kind of understood this stuff, and in discussions. And then it turns out like, nope, they didn't.
Well,
They
I
could
think
not translate it to this other
I was
product
gonna say,
then.
that's the thing. I think they probably, to some extent, like they understood how they got there in their space. The problem was that they couldn't take those skills and translate them elsewhere. And so I think that's the thing that I want to like kind of address with small businesses and small business owners hiring marketing agencies, hiring digital marketers, right? In quotes, I'm sorry to do this to y'all that are in our space, but be really certain of what you need done, right? Just because somebody can manage social media does not make them an all-encompassing digital marketer. Just because they can sell a course online does not make them an all-encompassing digital marketer. Be very intentional when partnering with a marketing consultant, an agency, about what your business goals are and if they can actually take you there, right? Talk to references, look at things that they've done for other businesses. Like we've had, like Micah said in a previous episode too, I think, we've done a lot of successful things in marketing, and we failed a bunch of times, right? And it happens no matter how great your campaigns, designs, strategy is. Sometimes the customer just doesn't respond. And so I think if you're a business wanting to hire a digital marketer, don't even bother Googling. Your brain is going to explode. There's like a million different definitions out there of what that means. Focus on what you actually need for your business and hire the right partner for that.
If you're a business who hasn't done it and you have grown, like lots of service-based businesses and stuff out there, we just talked to somebody yesterday who's very successful, had a family business for over a decade and millions of dollars in revenue. Nobody in the company is marketing. They've never done it. It's been word of mouth and referrals. And now they're like, we want to expand and we need to grow and we know that we have to start doing this stuff.
Right.
If you're in that type of space where you have built your business through referral, word of mouth, I call it friends and family marketing, which is great way. You can totally build a business and be successful, but it doesn't scale. So if you really want to scale and grow, you need to have marketing. And now you're in a situation where I wouldn't go straight to an agency necessarily. This is something we do, so I am going to, promote myself, but you don't need to hire a CMO, but there's fractional folks who are out there, and don't hire me, fine. but there are strategists who can actually come in and help you determine what you actually need before you just start going out and trying to hire an agency and have agencies tell you what you need. You know, you should have somebody come in who's got higher level experience with actual strategy to say, this is what you should start with. This is how you should hire. They can figure it out for you with your budget, looking at your P&L. What are your costs? Come up with that kind of a plan first before you start talking to agencies. Get a plan in place. Because if you just start talking to agencies, like, you know, agencies will tell you we can do whatever you need. You know, and you need a new website.
And some can and might be very successful, and others, it's just our experience has been that so many small businesses, again, we're talking about small to mid-size, you know, a lot of them service, some of them, you know, B2B.
Small,
I think
e-com. That's who we are. We're not big
those are the
people.
folks that really need to, I think those are the folks that have to be careful and not jump on these trends of like digital marketing and what does that mean and how can one person do all these things. Like, be very intentional with the KPIs that you're setting in order for you to grow, and then monitor those closely and cut ties quickly if you can.
Yeah,
please.
That's what a fractional CMO will do for you too, is establish your KPIs, and then they can help you hire. Because you're not, like, for someone like me now, like when I used to actually be the CMO, I was strategy. I didn't execute. I live in both worlds now. I had to go back and like, oh my gosh, some of my skills have eroded, you know, but you don't need necessarily me. Especially if you want it in-house. And we run an agency. We recommend you try to hire in-house.
Yes.
As often as you can. Bring your marketing in-house. That's the engine of your business. You need to own it. You know?
But
own
here's
that
the thing,
stuff, and your employees then are their only client is you. You know?
But here's the thing though, for a lot of people, we know that's not feasible. So I think it's just kind of like sorting through the noise that's out there around what is a digital marketer, what can a digital marketer do for you, right? And really continue to be focused on your business, what your growth goals are, and then finding the right partners for that. Don't be afraid to ask the questions that you don't know answers to, and then vet whoever you are going to work with, right? Like, get references, understand what they're capable of doing. Don't get into long-term contracts. That's one big thing, right? Because just because somebody says they're a digital marketer and they're successful in one, you know, on one platform or one type of, you know, business in the digital space doesn't mean they can translate that across the board. And I think that's what, you know, ultimately your goal should be to bring marketing in-house. But if you're not quite there yet.
Yeah, no one will be in the beginning, because your budget won't. If you can only spend $5,000 a month, you know, that can get you a marketer, probably. Maybe not in Chicago area here.
No.
But if it does, it gets you somebody very junior who may know one thing and be light on experience, and you're going to pay a lot to train them then. They're going to learn a lot. And then when they get trained up and get the skill set and have some years on their resume, they're going to leave you for an agency or something anyway. So if your budget is lower, agency helps you because it multiplies, you know, that money for you. Because when you work with somebody like us, an agency, we have all those other skill sets. You know, and the people that we work with, we have web designers, we have SEO people, we have, you know, and we know who to go to get these things done that we trust, that we have worked with already, that we know do actually deliver. This is the hardest thing for businesses out there when they're looking for that. Like when you go to hire SEOs, that's usually the first thing a business is going to try. We need an SEO agency. Building a new website or hiring SEO, it's the only two things small businesses are willing to spend money on, it seems. But how do you find a good SEO who you can trust?
And how do you measure that? Because we've seen people publicly talk about this on both LinkedIn and TikTok about some of the shady things that they do for SEO. That could be a whole other episode. So I think to sort of wrap this up is, you know, digital marketer has become one of those titles that is like an all-encompassing, meaning different things to different people. I think if you are in marketing and that's the title you are using, because you may know a lot of things, that's fine. But I think really focus on what is it that you do really, really well, right? It's okay that you know multitude of things, but what is it that you do well, and where does that fit in? Like what type of digital marketing do you do? I guess really it comes down to.
Right.
And then if you're a business, it's literally what you said, Mike. It's like, find the right partner. Start with strategy. Start with top level. How do you now scale this? If you haven't done anything, because that's shockingly another thing that we're running into a lot is folks who have very successful businesses for decades that haven't done any quote unquote marketing, right? Any digital marketing anyway.
I've had 2 8-figure clients in the last couple of years who never, I've started marketing departments at 2 different clients in the last couple of years who were 8-figure businesses. Who got there without a marketing department.
Yeah. And so I think really just know that, like, yes, this is probably a service that you need and that your business needs to scale, but be conscious of who you're working with. Do your due diligence as a business to know who you're working with, and know, as much as we hate to say it, know that it is a slow growth process to really sustain the growth, right?
Yeah.
It is a slow process. So, do your homework.
Weirdly, like we said to a potential client yesterday, is like, well, this is what we believe. And weirdly, it doesn't like get us a flood of clients. We tell people marketing is hard and it takes time.
Yeah, because you tell them the truth. Yeah, nobody wants to hear that. That's not a sexy message, Mike.
It's not a sexy message. I know.
No. I mean, it's an honest message, but it's not a sexy message. People want to hear 10X, which I by the way, hate
I know. All right, everybody. That's the end of episode 3. If you stuck through this one, thank you again too. This would be the place where we would mention sponsors again. If we had any, we don't. We are totally willing to sell out for sponsors.
Episode 4 also.
100% willing. I have no shame on that. So,
we know this.
Right? All right, everybody. That's the end. Episode 4. I'm sorry.
4. That's what I kept saying like 3 times. I try to correct you. Episode 4.
All right.